What's going on, GameLeapers? It's the Cum, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about the tier list for patch 13.4. These are 100% accurate. Do not contest me on any of these picks. But yeah, guys, we're going to reveal the picks that are going to be broken, you know, because of all the changes. What has actually happened to these champions? Are they still OP? Are they going to be really bad for the next 2 weeks? We will cover everything in the next 10 or so minutes, so make sure you stick around for the whole video. If you do want these videos to continue, please leave a like down below. And if you really want to get better at League of Legends, let me just tell you something. This video is not going to help you out at all. Yes, you can pick like an OP champion, but guess what? You're still the same dog tier player. I was going to say something else, but I can't. But yeah, you're still going to be hard stuck, right? Like, it doesn't matter what happens to the meta. You as a player are staying the same. So those habits, those fundamentals aren't going to change. We can help you do that and help you improve everything. Just check out the website in the description and comment section and get exclusive access to our library of content by signing up. And let's get into the video. Now, as far as top laners, let's start there. Jax. Your hockey stick might have gotten smaller in the early game. Your laning phase is certainly weaker, but it's just as big, if not bigger, in the mid to late game. The hockey stick, that is. Main reason being because the max damage on your Counter-Strike essentially doubled because the AP ratio in this is now 140%. So that means if you build something like a Zhonya's after your Divine Sundra, you could even argue that Jax is stronger than he was before this patch. Now, we can't go a few weeks without Riven being S tier. That's exactly what she is in 13.4. The buff to your passive, so it now scales linearly, so you're getting extra damage at each level rather than every so often. This spikes your power a lot more. The extra damage on towers is also a nice bonus because when you animation cancel on these structures, your auto attacks actually mean something now. That is more gold. Now, funnily enough, the nerfs to Udyr haven't really done much to top lane Dyr, that is AP Udyr. So the slow on your Phoenix stance may have decreased, but it is still enough to inhibit your opponent, and the damage with a demonic rush is still there. Remember, a lot of champions in the top lane will have HP, so the Azekana Gate passive from demonic is still just as OP. Now for Malphite in 13.4, the buffs to your W, even though you're probably still going to max this last, have seen a spike in win rate, and as a result, Rock Solid is now officially Rock Solid, climbing from B tier all the way to S tier. Keeping that same vibe, Cho'Gath, another beefy top laner, has shot up the ranks all the way to S tier because of the mana buffs to your Q and W and the base damage buff to your Q from rank 2 onwards and the armor growth buff. Rushing a Heartsteel and then Sunfire Aegis is proving to be the optimal setup, boasting well over a 51% win rate is this build, but also Cho'Gath himself. But maybe the most low-key broken top lane of this patch is one who has played mostly in the jungle, this being Maokai. Yes, your ease damage and cooldown may have copped nerfs, but for top lane Maokai that doesn't mean too much, right? And what matters more is the damage buff to your Q, especially when you consider the fact it's dealing more damage based on your opponent's max HP. And in the top lane, who doesn't have a lot of hit points? Pretty much no one. So top Maokai is something you guys should definitely look out for in 13.4. Now moving to the mid lane, you can actually max range cage and clip that entrapped enemy with your W now on Veigar. This is massive for purple Gandalf, and on top of this, the Q range increase has meant that Veigar has propelled upwards in the ranks, going from C tier all the way to S tier. And any Veigar mains, let the jizz know how happy you are with this change in the comments. Now the Ninetale Fox has returned to S tier following the 3 buffs. So Ahri's base HP and armor going up and her ultimate cooldown decreasing have seen a lift in performance, and seeing as she is one of the most versatile and blind pickable mid laners, she has to reside towards the top of the mid lane tier list. Another control mage who got similar buffs was Orianna, and her base armor going up by 3 has certainly helped, as has the buff to her W's mana. But it still takes way too long to come online, and if you compare Orianna's level 6 and mid to late game to something like a Syndra, a Veigar, even an Ahri, you have to land a 5-man ultimate to make this pick worth it, and as long as the enemy players have their monitors turned on, this can be hard to do, but her laning phase has definitely improved. Now the nerfs to Anivia's scaling HP and armor have not done much, if anything. The Cryo Phoenix with Rod of Ages and Seraph Embrace is still one of the best mid laners to play, but one mid laner who is certainly not one of the best champions to play in 13.4 is Azir. Your ease damage may have gotten buffed, your ultimate's damage may have gotten buffed, but your base mana is virtually nothing, and your soldier's recharge time is now longer in the early game. This means your early game and laning phase has been taken out at the knees, and the Emperor's Shurima is anything but this patch. Now finally, an underrated champion in the mid lane because of the buffs is Cho'Gath, who we have already mentioned. The mana cost going down, like I mentioned earlier, improve your wave clip, and the fact your Q is dealing more damage from rank 2 onwards, this gives you more kill pressure on those squishier mid laners when you do actually land it. So that's the actual thing, if you can land it or not, so try to time your rupture when your opponent is going for a CS and feast. Moving to the jungle where lots of champions got hit with nerfs, one of them being a Mumu, but across all elos because the green cube is still a strong pick. You may have lost HP, armor, and tick damage from your despair, and then damage to camps because of the demonic damage cap, but it hasn't really upset the mummy. But one champion who has been probably more affected by a bunch of nerfs in 13.4 is Jungle Maokai. Your saplings are huge in the jungle. They control key areas and can deal 50% of someone's HP if they face check a brush. This is no longer the case. Not only are your saplings less prolific, but they also deal less damage. But why is Maokai still in low-key broken? Well, I'll tell you about this tech in a future video. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss that juicy info. But on the whole, Mao has taken a general hit. Guys, I'm going to keep this short and sweet for the deer. Just keep going AP Udyr, kind of like I was saying for top lane, and you'll be fine. But maybe don't be so keen on locking in Elise. The nerfs to her spider form Q and W have taken away one-shot potential and clear speed, so hopefully this will mean she won't be picked and banned in every pro game and as annoying for every bot lane who has to play against her, and top laner if you're against Renekton Elise. Now for J4, son of J3, grandson of J2, and great-grandson of J1, sounds like we're playing battleships, the two W nerfs have been little jabs to your overall strength, but you are still a strong jungler, so no reason to stop playing him. Now, speaking of kings, finally we have the ruined one, and the buff to Viego's crit and ultimate damage haven't done too much in all honesty, but his win rate has improved by around 0.5% thus far, and he is being played a heck of a lot more, so I wouldn't be surprised if his win rate actually continued to increase as the patch progresses. Now down to the bot lane, and the Desert Rose probably won't be a luscious red color this patch because of the passive nerf and ultimate nerf to Samira, and according to the stats, she's dropped from S+ tier all the way down to B tier, and if you guys have actually been playing her, does it actually feel a lot different playing her? Let me know in the comment section. And also, what about Aphelios? Any AD carry mains out there, let me know. The buff to your passive's attack speed looks kind of nice on paper, but this is just superficial it seems. Like, are you still maxing your attack speed last? That's what the data is telling us, and his win rate has improved a little bit in higher levels of play, but for the masses, the weapon of the faithful is still hardly a weapon it seems. But one champion who does actually carry a weapon now is Senna, and you can actually now play this champion as an AD carry because of the attack speed ratio increase, so you can build stuff like Kraken Slayer into Navori Quick Blades, Ginsu's, there's even some mirror mana tech out there, and we have to mention the sizable buffs to your ultimate. The damage buff, the cooldown buff, these are huge, and that's why Senna is in low-key broken. Now we mentioned purple Gandalf earlier. Guys, you can also play Veigar as a legit AP carry in the bot lane now. The extra range makes you less hittable for AD carries and supports alike, and lots of the time you will scale out of the bot lane. If you also think about those engaged supports getting lots of buffs, Veigar works really well with them because of his cage and his quick burst damage. But maybe Senna's best role is as a support, and she has climbed all the way into the broken tier. Even though Spectral Sickle got nerfed, getting an Umbral Glaive and then Eclipse is perhaps the best way to make use of the ultimate buffs, because both of these items will decrease its cooldown even more and increase its damage because of the lethality you are getting. Senna's win rate certainly backs this up in pretty much every single elo. Now maybe the biggest placebo buffs on the patch are to Alistar and AP Alistar, so unless you're going like Rocket Belt Alistar or maybe Shirelia's Cow, you're not going to be mooing that much more. Now the balance team finally got what they wanted. Thresh players maxing Q into E and then W, and guess what? This has actually improved the Chain Warden's win rate by a fair bit, and that's why he's in S tier. Just expect the Thresh on your team to be first timing him, don't get your hopes up. Now another green champion we've already talked about is a Mumu, and the fact you're more squishy and your W deals less damage, they have impacted the mummy a lot in the support role, and you're much better off playing a champion like Nautilus, Blitz, or Pike if you do actually want to play one of these hook engaged champions. Now finally guys, support Maokai has been hit big time because his saplings are just way less effective, and that has seen Maokai plummet all the way down to C tier. So those were the tier lists at the moment for 13.4. I'm sure if a lot of stuff changes, we will do an updated tier list, so again, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and until our most broken champions video tomorrow, this has been The Squirt. Peace.